Hello, my name is Mr. Evans. I teach special education here at Granite Bay High School.
And okay, so we're going to start our interview. So, do your students ever talk about being treated differently?
Sure. Yeah, a lot of our students are very self-aware, and a lot of them kind of feel that they're treated differently, even if that's not an outward thing. Sometimes some of our students who are a little bit more behind socially and physically, they kind of feel the pressure of being treated differently, and it's not always a bad thing. I mean, sometimes they're treated too nicely, and sometimes it's because of their disability. So, it's not always such a bad thing that they're complaining about, but it is definitely something where they feel that they're treated differently for different things, for different reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you ever see students in your class being treated differently?
Not, again, not in my classroom. On campus, I've seen a lot of positive treatment of my students in particular. I do know that there is negative treatment and there's forms of bullying and everything. But for the most part, from my perspective, I've seen a lot of our kids treated differently, yes, but it's not always such a bad thing. Sometimes I see a lot of people come up and give them high fives or talk to them, but sometimes those kids take that as pity, which can be a negative thing, even though it's not a negative intention. That's the way it can come across.
How do you feel about kids with autism or other disabilities being treated differently?
Well, if we're talking about the negative treatment of anybody, especially somebody with a disability, then that's something that I can't tolerate. And I know most of the teachers here on campus, if not all of them, wouldn't tolerate that as well. Most of the students wouldn't tolerate that. And again, like I said, I've seen a lot of positive treatment of my students and then some of the other disabled students. But if there was actually somebody low enough to treat negatively somebody that had a disability, that's a rallying call for anybody to stand up and do something about it. And I just think that's a pretty low thing. And if it was a negative treatment deal, I would be very upset with that. And I've always kind of been that way. Most of the people I grew up with were the same way. So we definitely wouldn't allow that.
Thank you. Do you see your students with autism or other disabilities excel in some subjects more than others?
Yeah. A lot of the times, the more independent the activities are, our students with autism usually respond better to those because they work a little bit more inside their own little structure, their own little set when they have to work in groups. So they have to comment on a class in a group situation, like have a discussion. That's very difficult for students with autism. I don't want to pigeonhole them for having specific areas, but definitely the classes where they can work independently are the classes that they excel in a little bit more.
And how do you think kids with autism perceive themselves?
I think they perceive themselves as normal high school kids. That's what they want. I think most people in high school would want that. I think that a lot of them that have not as severe forms of autism can notice the difference socially. They're aware of their situation, so I don't think all of them feel normal, if you will, quote unquote, but I think that's a common problem for all teenagers, not just kids with autism, but they want to be perceived, or they just want to feel normal, treated like everybody else. I think that's what we all would want.
And then the last one, how do you think kids with any disability want to be perceived and why?
Normal, because like we mentioned before, sometimes even if someone's treating you really, really nice because of your disability, or is extra helpful, then that can be seen as you telling them that they can't do it or you don't believe in them. And if you don't help out at all, then it triggers something in all of us that we say, I'm not being nice, I'm not being helpful. So I think that any person with any disability, whether it's physical or mental, they just want to be treated normal, as though they matter, as though they're important, which they are. But I've dealt with it with people that didn't have any disabilities, and then there was injuries or something that caused disabilities, and really the quest is just for a normal life. And that's so many kids just want to feel as though they're liked and they're important to what they're doing and that they have friends. So it's the same for students with disabilities. Sure.
Awesome. Thank you.